They can't say anything because it's a completely different class, completely different. And the two words are the name of the brand. So no problem, right? But then who knows that they only do the first word, not the second word. And you start from, maybe $5,000-$6,000, you end up with 15, 20, K to make sure that you are trademark, your patent, you're in the right class, you have the right, everything needs to be spot on before you start anything. And that is a lot of work, and a lot of sacrifice that you need to do. And you just have to be careful.
This episode is proudly brought to you by Mapper Forward's workshop. It's time to become a coffee consultant. Learn how to diversify your revenue streams and create freedom from your day job while saying goodbye to that alarm clock forever by becoming a consultant within the coffee industry or directly to consumers who have shifted towards home brewing and home roasting. Protect your income from challenging times in the coffee value chain by taking this course today. Go to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 3 of a fantastic 5-part series with Nawar Adra from Stitch Coffee in Sydney and now in China. Welcome back to the podcast, Nawar. In this series, we're talking about exploring what it is to run a coffee business or a company across borders. And in this episode, we're talking about the hidden cost of expanding across borders. Bearing in mind that when we talk about costs, we're not just talking about financial cost. There's a lot of different costs that are involved, mental health being one of them, no doubt. Remember, this is a podcast. Not everybody can see you shaking, nodding your head.
Oh, really? Yeah. I you'll be surprised how much time. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think the obvious one, maybe the financial is.
Yeah, let's start the financial. What's the hidden financial cost?
Hidden financial cost is when your brand cannot be registered because of something else happened within that. Sometimes you're lucky that your logo didn't look like any other logo or your name, So for example, in China, it's very different to Japan, very different to anywhere else. So if your name has coffee in it, if your name had coffee in it, coffee is not part of the name because it's a normal. It's how do you say? It's a word that is
used in everyday language.
Yeah. So it's not.
You can't own a word that everybody uses.
So you only add Stitch Coffee. So now Stitch is the name that you need to
register. No shit.
Register. Yes. So,
but isn't Stitch a word as well? Like that sounded so.
The complexity started.
The complexity started. But isn't Stitch like a verb? So,
yeah. But then you have Disney who did it before us. So that's another way.
Oh wow! So then what happens? So it's Lilo and Stitch hard. Or Stitch and Lilo or whatever it is. I don't have kids, so I don't understand.
And then you have to work hard and start digging into class, digging into what are the other ways. And there's a creative part about it. You can go and do what you need to do, but it costs a lot of money because you are constantly saying, hey, you're not using it. Hey, I will, how do you say, appeal, right? So you start appealing and changing and shifting and revolutioning and be smart about it. That's what I mean. There's a lot of hidden costs because somebody might have just put a logo that is very similar to yours and it's not going to work. So I never thought about it. I thought, who would think that would happen? In Japan, no problem. You can put Stitch Coffee together. Boom. Easy. They can't say anything because it's a completely different class, completely different. And the two words are the name of the brand. So no problem, right? But then who knows that they only do the first word, not the second word. And you start from, maybe $5,000-$6,000, you end up with 15, 20, K to make sure that you are trademark, your patent, you're in the right class, you have the right, everything needs to be spot on before you start anything. And that is a lot of work, and a lot of sacrifice that you need to do. And yeah, you just have to be careful, how and who
I don't know
help you with it.
I don't know if I ever told you the story of when Elixir got sued for our trademark in America. And this is another one to be careful of. Like, we registered the trademark. And folks, everything I'm about to tell you is from my opinion, covering myself legally here. And my lawyer at the time cleared me to talk about this. So we applied for the trademark for the mark of Elixir. And that activated a company called Elixir Coffee on the other side of the country who had been operating for 10 years. Their lawyers contacted them and said, somebody's trying to register a company called Elixir Specialty Coffee. You should sue them. You should contest it. And their logo, we were registering the mark, not the name. Now, our logo is an omega with Elixir Specialty Coffee written underneath it. Theirs is a blue cross. And the lengths that these motherfuckers went to, motherfuckers in my opinion, went to, was that they even tried to convince the person who was making the decision that you could we were a ready to drink bottled beverage that was golden and see-through. They're a coffee roasting company, and they were trying to convince this person who was making the decision that you could confuse these brands. So what did they do? In my opinion, they got somebody to purchase something from the Elixir roasters, and then they contacted us asking for a refund. Do you see?
Oh, wow. And they show confusion. I get it.
To show confusion. And you like this, if there's one trigger that I have, it's when people manipulate. You know this about me. And this kind of manipulation really, really pissed me off. So the good news is that the person making the decision thought it was ridiculous, in my opinion, and they didn't win. The ridiculous part about it was the day that they had started this fuckery of we want to contest your application, I said to them, how about we just have an agreement where you're going to continue to run your business, I'm going to continue to run my business, we're not going to get in each other's way, and we save having to pay lawyers any money. In my opinion, he said, yes, let's do that. 2.5 years later, because in my opinion, his lawyers had convinced him to do it otherwise, tens of thousands of dollars later for each of us, they got denied their objection. We won, and we ended up back at the place. Let's just agree to have the agreement we came up with on the first day.
Oh, wow. What a waste of energy.
And this is the part of the hidden costs that are really important, because that was mega expensive for a startup business to have to go through that process. And second of all, the tax on me as a person, that somebody else in this industry who did not have to go through this, did not have to put me through this. And the worst part, in my opinion, was when that person had said to me, hey, listen, Lee, now that this is all done, I think we have more in common than we really need to, than we have different. So, let's maybe one day we get to sit down and have a coffee. And that made me so fucking furious. And I said to him, there is no reality where this is water under a bridge. There's and people need to be really aware of the stress that's involved in doing this kind of thing. If you think that it's one thing to open a business, it's a completely different beast, taking your business into another country.
Yeah, it's a lot more complex and so much more hurdle and
And not understanding the
and
culture, the business culture that exists over there. In America,
I mean,
it is like open slather. Everybody sues everybody, and you just have to be okay with people suing you for no reason and hoping that they get something out of you. They don't care what it costs your
crazy.
business, in my opinion. And that's something that if you don't go into that culture, understanding that, it costs you way more than just money, but it costs you a lot of money at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is. And that's, what we've learned. And sometimes sometimes I have to pull out because I know it's how expensive it is to actually register certain class or anything like that. That's crazy. So those are the kind of the main costs, right? Mm-hmm. The other cost as well that comes with it is, you have to really know if your distributor or somebody working with you or whoever is helping you to go there, understand how to get your product in the country. Okay. So that's another headache, because somebody at the show this year where they didn't have the right people to tell them exactly what needs to be done. And the whole Panamanian and very expensive coffee were held by the customer. So when they had the show, they couldn't sell anything because the coffee was held. We had this problem, but our distributor was able to move from one port to another. So some port in China have a different labeling requirement if you go to Shanghai, but if you go to another one, it's going to cost a fortune, don't get me wrong. But they were able to understand, okay, it doesn't work here.
They knew the options.
All right. They knew the option. They knew where it needs to go. They know how it's go there. Do you get what I mean? So it's very important to have the people who are really good at this. All right.
Yeah. Roll up their sleeves.
Roll up their hand. They know what's happening. They can get, they're not the coolest maybe human being, but they know how to get shit done, and that is really the thing that I've learned when I was studying is that your supply chain is one of the main competitive advantage, that you don't even need to have a good product. You just need to have that amazing supply chain, to get you there. So that's another head and cut, because sometimes you have to reroute, or you have to sometimes, I can't get my coffee in. I just lost 100 kilos or 300 kilos of coffee that meant to come. So that's one. The other one that is important is to understand the risk you're going to take, because, people want to see you there. They don't want to see someone who worked for you there. Mm-hmm. That, especially when you first start, they want to be engaged with the people who started it. They want to see the founder. They want to see the first people who were part of the company from day one. So now you have to leave your brand behind, or your operation in one country, find to make sure your team is doing well. They might have to add more people, because you might be, a person who does 4 or 5 jobs at the same time. And then you have to go there. You have
to be a rock star.
Right? You have the, it costs a lot of money.
I can't imagine you like standing there signing autographs and like.
Yeah. You'll be signing autograph. You'll be doing all that, but you're up. Sometimes you don't know the weather. Okay. So Guangzhou was 95% humidity and 36 degrees, and you're in a park. Yeah.
Damn.
From 10 a.m., but you're not going to go there 10 a.m. You're going to be there 8:30 to make sure everything is set up until 9:30 p.m. Yeah. Now, just imagine this. You're standing there for 4 or 5 days, and you're in a park. It's not like there's a washing, or you can wash every 5 seconds. Sometimes you're dripping all over your place. I've never felt what a chicken feels like until I work there. Then I realized what a, fried chicken or an oven baked chicken goes through. So it's like, wow, it was insane. And then, the first time in Shanghai, we moved from, Guangzhou to Shanghai. First 2 days were nice. The weather is good. We're in the park where there's grass. Yeah. Started raining. And it didn't rain for like 5 minutes. It rained for 4 days. You know what happened there?
But did people come?
I mean, the funny part, they had to add like wood on the floor so people can start stepping. It was like a
And they did?
disaster.
They got it.
We lost.
Okay.
You lose. That's hidden cost. You don't
Yeah.
know. You don't know the
Yeah.
freaking weather.
You can't predict
You
it.
don't know if you can't predict it. You don't know. You're not there in every season to understand what work. And then you go to Nanjing, it was like the first 2 days was like raining and it's crazy. So all those things, and you're standing then and you really need to have the right person with you from your team. Like really, you need to have the right people. Sometimes like to have really good partner that stay there till like 2 a.m. making sure, because you're you're opening a store every 4 days.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, and then you have to finish and then you have to pack and you have to send to another city and you have to understand how you get courier and you have to know, how do I call, like there is van that comes at 10 p.m. at night in China that will come and help you. It's insane. Like the logistics is,
wait, finish that. The van turns up at 10 o'clock at night and then what happens? What does it do?
Yeah, 10 p.m. It's like, hey, I've got 25 boxes. I need to take it from here to there. I need to go to you don't want to see what happened in the hotel room. It becomes a warehouse.
Yeah, right.
Everywhere. And, and another thing is, some hotels don't take foreigners, Some hotels take foreigners. Yeah. It's a thing, yeah. Because if you take foreigners, you need to have a different license and all that, So there's a lot of things that, some cities, obviously a city like Shanghai is different. Mm-hmm. Shanghai is like Sydney.
An international city.
Massive international city, but when you go tier 2 city, it becomes a different challenge,
Yeah, wow.
And payments, you need to really know about Alipay. You need to connect your Alipay to now at least the credit card works, thank God. But before there was no credit card that was connected to Alipay. So you need to find local to help you to put your money in so you can spend money. So all those things are, end up having, extra costs that you didn't really think about it, so important to.
I have a question. There's one part, there's one part that I suffered when I moved my business here, and I'd love to get your take on it. You watched it all happen, but how do you, there's a cost in getting to know a new community. And when you trust the wrong people, that can be a massive cost to you as a person, to your business, to your integrity, to a whole bunch of things. And how do you manage preventing being manipulated? Because when you're the new kid on the block and you're doing well, you become a target for people who want to take advantage of that.
I think
how do you go into China? How do you go anywhere as a brand?
Number one, culture. That's it. You just really need to know the culture. You need to dive deep into it. Ask as many questions for other people's. If you have any doubt about how people do business, how people react. The second part is never come in and say, I'm here to teach you how to do a better coffee, because to be honest, they taught me how to do other stuff, so you're not there to teach anybody. You're there to add value to the community that already existed. You have to acknowledge that your job is, rather than competing, is be part of but does
that not make you
already exists.
Did you not become a target for people trying to want to sell you stuff, take advantage of you, try to manipulate you?
I mean, from let's say like other people who doesn't like you to be part of it, right? Like coffee people, that's how you approach it. Maybe just don't go and say, hey, but coffee is better than you. Not really. It's not, right? But for the business people or the other people, what is very important is don't be greedy. Don't think too big, too quick. Just go back to basics and make sure you legitimize the relationship from the beginning. Like, there's a lot of dinners. There will be a lot of things that is going to take you away, and you're going to love what you're going to see because their hospitality is on a different scale. You know what I mean? It's very different to any other country I've visited in the way they they are so open to show you about their brand, about their culture. So you get deviated, you get submerged into this beautiful moments that you're living and the camarades and all that sort of thing.
Right.
But I guess legitimizing it as soon as possible and make sure that you're on the same page, you shook the right hand in the right time with the right bullet points. That's rule number one. And that's just say it as it is sooner. Don't wait till later.
And you want to get out of the honeymoon phase as quickly as you can in that situation.
Yeah.
Like create a buffer. Tell me.
Keep the honeymoon. Just make sure we understand what are we signing up to. The honeymoon is the fun part.
Well,
and as long as you know from day one, hey, I'm here to do business, and you love the brand and all that. Okay, there will be maybe we go into franchise agreement, or we going into licensing agreement, or we're just going to start distribution, and this is what I think it is. What do you think? And then they're going to take you around, and then you're going to go back to it. So before you leave, there will be this very important conversation you're going to have, to finalize things. And then you just have to be persistent.
Right.
So,
and we're gonna talk a little bit more about this because I made a big mistake when I came to Dubai, and I think that people could learn from my mistakes. So we're going to talk about it more in the next episode. So join us for that. Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.